Weapons and advancement in that manner is a very significant type of evolution. Greater power and more modern weapons are often geared toward the purpose of killing. As the years have gone by and wars have been won and lost, weapons have changed. These changes in technology have a big role in the amount of damage, any overall impact a person, location, or even population has when these weapons are used. Specifically, World War II was a big war, which also came with huge advancements in war.
When the Nazis invaded Poland, they used a new technology strategy called Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is a military tactic that is used to confuse the enemy using mobile forces and concentrated firepower. It is successful since the enemy force is unaware of this scale of an attack, which results in a hard-hitting force. The Nazis not only used this tactic on Poland, but also Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. In less than 6 weeks, Germany crushed the forces of these nations. History states, Third Reich was to achieve victory by enveloping enemy armies, threatening their lines of supply and communications, and forcing them to fight in an unexpected direction. This was how Nazi Germany could easily achieve victory and conquer these nations. By using an unsuspected firepower, the different nations did not have enough time to prepare. This event resulted in the Nazis being able to increase their power throughout Europe. Blitzkrieg would be used in the Soviet Union, which brought the Nazis to the gates of Moscow. The use of Blitzkrieg was very effective in World War II, which helped the Nazis secure most of Europe. The benefits of Blitzkrieg is it was a new military technique which was heavily used by the Nazis. When the Allies found out how to deal with the Blitzkrieg, it greatly reduced the fighting power of the Nazis.
As mentioned, Blitzkrieg was a massive improvement in a multitude of ways. It was much more powerful than tactics used in World War I, such as trench warfare, which was very common among militaries in World War I. Blitzkrieg, also known as Lightning War, did a great deal of damage to the opposing enemy, leaving them disorganized among several waves, including tanks, which destroyed armed forces and could clear minefields, and artillery, which aid army forces by wiping out the enemy. Blitzkrieg was also not the most convenient tactic. While it was very effective for the most part and got them far in World War II, it involved a lot of supplies. They were successful and won victories everywhere with Blitzkrieg until they found themselves in a deficit of supplies of Moscow. So it was inconvenient because they ran out of supplies. It is also a very long process to prepare and requires a lot of work just for one battle to be fought. Blitzkrieg was an expensive way to fight war, both in terms of equipping soldiers with improved weaponry and maintaining the functionality of weapons like tanks, fuel, spare parts, and replacements. For lost vehicles was another heavy cost of Blitzkrieg, as this happened often when Blitzkrieg was put in place. Between the cost of replacement, fuel, weaponry, and supplies armed forces needed to carry, transportation of supplies, and the necessary weapons and vehicles themselves, Blitzkrieg was an extremely costly way to fight.
During World War II, an American B-29 bomber dropped the first ever atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. History states the explosion wiped out 90% of the city and immediately killed 80,000 people. Tens of thousands more later died of radiation exposure. This devastating attack to the Japanese Empire would happen once more when another B-29 bomber bombed Nagasaki 3 days later. These massive blows made the Japanese Emperor Hirohito surrender, making the Allies win World War II. The atomic bomb was a new weapon created by the U.S., which was a top-secret project known as the Manhattan Project. It was created in order to defeat Japan, since they were the only major force left remaining that the Allies needed to beat. It was either sending many soldiers to go into Japan, which would result in many casualties, or to launch the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb would change the world forever, since now nations could create powerful firepower which could take out many people at once. The benefits of the atomic bomb is it helped the Allies secure victory and finally ended World War II once and for all.
The atomic bomb was a very revolutionary weapon, as Val talked about. It was extremely beneficial, but not for every situation. It's extremely powerful, considerably too powerful for a lot of scenarios, and it can wipe out vast territories and populations. According to History.com, on July 16, 1945, in a remote desert location near Alamogordo, New Mexico, the first atomic bomb was successfully detonated, and it's known as a Trinity test, and it created an enormous mushroom cloud about 40,000 feet high. So the atomic bomb was definitely a very devastating weapon. Although the atomic bomb was not a very convenient weapon to use, and it takes a very long time to prepare for usage and requires intense extents of transportation to bring to locations. It was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II using aircraft, and the approximate overall cost of the atomic bombs, including the research and actual construction and usage of this weapon, costed around $2 billion, making the atomic bombs an extremely expensive alternative to other weapons.
A new technological boat created and used in World War II was the aircraft carrier. The main purpose of the aircraft carrier was to bring in airplanes closer to battle. The Japanese were the creators of the aircraft carrier, which they used during the war. As well, the Allies would follow and create their own powerful aircraft carriers. The use of these ships would prove to be quite resourceful. Then the engineering technology history wiki claims the effectiveness of large aircraft carriers was demonstrated early in the war when dozens of Japanese fighters and bombers launched from the aircraft carriers decimated the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii in late 1941. These ships were a vital part for naval battles and were needed by many nations. The benefits of the aircraft carrier is that it was a new military technology that helped the Allies win the war and guide the way for new naval technology.
The aircraft carrier truly changed naval and air combat forever. It was very beneficial. Air weapons and planes could land at any location in the vast ocean, and water makes up 71% of the Earth, and with the addition of the aircraft carrier, that statistic is meaningless in terms of the possibility of combat. The aircraft carrier is also very convenient, as semi-stated before. Military planes no longer need to find land to land on in between and during combat. They can simply land conveniently on these aircraft carriers that were introduced in World War II. According to a website called How Stuff Works, carriers can move in excess of 35 knots, 40 miles per hour, and which gives them the ability to get anywhere in the ocean in a few weeks. So essentially, giant platforms can move at any location in the ocean in a reasonable time frame for war. This makes for vast strategic combat possibilities and makes the aircraft carrier very convenient. The cost of aircraft carriers rests at around $50 to $80 million in total, varying on the country. Fairly expensive, although considering how many of them there were in total and the cost of the atomic bomb, the prices of this weapon is much more fathomable than other alternatives.